Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and subscribers. We are back with another episode of Mr. Squire's Civics and Economics class. Woo! Yes. All right. So, over the week, we have been covering over the functions of political parties, as well as the similarities and differences of political parties, as well as the third parties and their differences between the two major political parties. Now, today, we're diving into CE 5C. Say what, Mr. Squire? Seriously? Yes, CE 5C. To even be more specific, we will be emphasizing the role of media in elections, as well as learning how to evaluate campaign speeches, campaign advertisement, so forth and so on. So, before we even do that, we got to make sure we touch on the essential questions. So, in this particular standard, there are two particular essential questions that we must know. Again, in this particular standard, there are two particular essential questions that we need to remember when understanding media, the role of media in elections. So, the first essential question is, how do citizens make informed decisions in elections? Again, how do citizens make informed choices in elections? That's the first essential question. Then the second essential question is, how does the media play a role in the political process? Again, how does media play a role in the political process? Got it? Then we go into our enduring understandings. See, the first enduring understanding you should know is that voters evaluate information presented in political campaigns to make reasonable choices among candidates. Again, voters evaluate information presented in political campaigns to make reasonable choices among candidates. That's the first essential understanding. Then you have the second essential understanding, which is the role of media, or the media plays an important role in the political process. Again, the media plays an important role in the political process. And we're going to break that down in a second. So, let's get ready to jump into the meat of things. So, when understanding the role of media, we have to learn the strategies for evaluating campaign speeches, literature, and advertisements for accuracy. What does that mean, Mr. Squire? Pretty much, us as citizens have to have certain skills to be able to evaluate the reliable versus the non-reliable, or the prejudiced information versus the non-prejudiced information. For example, there are 4 strategies to better allow you to understand this. We're going to jump into those strategies. There are 4 strategies, ladies and gentlemen. Whew. The first one, separating fact from opinion. What does this mean? It means allowing yourself to evaluate the sources and determine which sources, or determine from this how we know this is a fact versus an opinion. And majority of the time we can determine a fact because we have multiple sources that back up the statement that's already been given. For example, if Mr. Squire is wearing Carolina blue, we can prove that because not only through my video you see that I'm wearing Carolina blue, but a student will say, yes, on this day Mr. Squire wore blue. That is factual because we have multiple sources that can agree with that statement that has been made. The next one is detecting bias. Detecting bias. Again, Someone might say, well, Mr. Squire, what does bias mean? To better understand what bias is, right? Bias is, it's pretty much bias is a distortion of an event or observation due to a person's opinions or feelings about the event. What does that mean, Mr. Squire? That's pretty much a person's own personal opinion or feelings toward an event or a observation. Just pretty much giving your own thought about something. So we've said separating fact from opinion is one strategy, and detecting bias is another strategy. Then we go to the third strategy. See, the third strategy is evaluating sources. Again, it's important to evaluate the sources so that we can be able to better understand if it is a factual statement or if it is a opinionated statement. Because again, that's going to be the things that's going to allow us to better evaluate who are the candidates that we're dealing with, and who are the candidates that we're dealing with, as well as what type of views or viewpoints do they have in changing or making our nation better. Then you go to propaganda. Somebody say, okay, Mr. Squire, I don't know what propaganda means. Propaganda is the spreading of information for the purpose of influencing the opinions of others. So it's pretty much like saying, well, just saying the mayor of Emporia really doesn't do a good job with helping the people. I seen her buying beers in the ABC store. Again, I'm spreading information for the purpose of influencing others to think this person is a bad person. That's what propaganda is. Just like bias is a distortion of information due to your personal opinions, feelings, or observation. I look at both of these terms are solely focused on meaning to influence someone. That's why it's best for us to be able to evaluate campaign speeches, literature, as well as advertisement, so that we can identify bias. We can identify propaganda, so that we can be able to better evaluate these sources and make a conscious decision of who is the best representative, who's going to be for us. All right, so again, now we're again touching on media and its role in elections. So, mass media, I'm going to say this. How many key things do we need to know about media and its role in the political process? How many key points are there? I'm going to give you a hint. Starts with an F. How many are there? Correct. 4. There are 4. How many? 4. 4 key things that you want to remember about media or mass media and the role it plays in elections. The first role is, that media allows us to identify the candidates. For example, who were the 2 individuals who ran for the last election? Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. We know that through media. What forms of media am I referring to? Television, internet, newspapers, magazines. Those are the types of medias, or those are the forms or types of media that has been used to allow us to identify candidates. The second role that media plays in the political process or in the political parties is it emphasizes on selected issues. For example, if it was not for media, we would not know about the Trayvon Martin incident or the Eric Smith incident. And all of these events are relating to what, class? I'm going to give you a hint. The first letter of that word starts with a P. The second word, letter starts with B. Think about it. P, B. Whisper somebody close to you or tell somebody if you think you know. The word is police brutality. We would have never known about police brutality if it had not been displayed through newspaper headlines, from news broadcasting stations, from the internet. If it was not from media, we would not know that this is a very, very, very important issue in America right now. Another issue that we've learned about through media was immigration. We know that at one point Donald Trump was talking about doing something to eliminate immigration. Do you know what it was? Correct. He said he was going to build a wall to ensure that no other illegal immigrants would enter into our nation. And also he would set up certain stations to deport. The third row, so we said identifying candidates, emphasizing selected issues. Third is writing editorials, creating political cartoons, and publishing op-ed pieces. Op-ed pieces are also known as opinionated editorials. So, again, right now we touched on how many ways? 3. What's the first one? Identifying candidates. Second one, emphasizing selective issues. Third, writing editorials, political cartoons, and op-ed pieces, which is op-ed pieces is opinionated editorials. So we on 3 right now. All right. And the fourth one is broadcasting different points of view. And we see different points of views being broadcast when we watch presidential debates or presidential speeches. Those are the times when we are hearing the viewpoints that are shared from the candidates and allowing us to use the newspaper, the internet, television, magazine, every source of media to share what is actually going on with these candidates. That is the 4 ways that media plays a role in political parties or in politics. It allows us to identify the candidate, emphasize selective issues, write editorials, political cartoons, op-ed pieces, again, to share our own opinions and beliefs of what's going on. And then we got the last one is focused on broadcasting different points of view. And the way that different points of views are broadcast through media is when we see campaign speeches or presidential debates, okay? So with that being said, we've broken down the strategies that allow us to evaluate campaign speeches, literature, and advertisements. And we've also broke down the 4 roles that media plays in elections. So with that being said, take a few minutes to review it. Close your eyes, challenge yourself. Just say each and every one of them on your own. As always, you know who it is, right? It's your crazy, wild, and energetic teacher, Mr. Squire. Peace out.